For the one and only Ski. So I'm assuming a good number of you have been to college, and you know how it can be very strange. I've had some very strange experiences in college, and I want to share what is easily the weirdest of them all. So for the college I went to, I'm from the West Coast, from the college I went to, you weren't actually allowed to graduate until you had taken some other classes outside of your primary subject of study. And one of these courses was one of the courses you could almost never get into. They seemed to either swap the instructor at the last possible second, or they just decided they didn't have enough interest, which is impossible considering everybody I knew was waiting to get through this one course. So the course itself was going to be, it was like in room 108 or something like that. And the first problem was, when I did manage to sign up for it, there was no room 108. The rooms stopped at 105. And there was simply nothing else. So you were left casting around with a bunch of other students who were looking for the exact same classroom that evidently didn't exist. So you go and ask for the staff, and the staff say, well, it's in room 108. And you're like, it doesn't exist. Is it in an outside building? Is it on the roof? Is there a sub-basement we don't know of? Where is this? And what made it more infuriating is as you were walking around looking for this mysterious fucking classroom, other people would sometimes stand in the doorway to other classrooms and then kind of wave you in. Like, come on in. I'm looking for this class. I have to take this class. I can't graduate. And they said, well, actually, this is that classroom. They just moved it here. They just didn't bother telling anybody. So here I am on the third floor, like room 309 or something like that, and I'm like, oh, finally. So I went and I sat down, and first off, I didn't have the right book, so I had to go out, get the right book. Luckily, you could get it used. And it was a frustrating class. It was a very frustrating class. I've taken enough courses, and I've read enough things that I'm fairly critical of anything that I am taught. I like to know where it comes from, I like to investigate, do my own reading, and one of the things I found from this classroom is all of the things they were presenting as part of the class curriculum were, in my mind, deeply flawed. And they weren't actually doing a very good job of teaching the subject. So I actually went to the staff and I complained, and the staff's like, you have to pass this class or you can't graduate from here. And it's as simple as that. So I walked back, kind of, seeing red, and I got onto the wrong floor by accident. I was walking around the second floor, and there was somebody on that floor who was waving people in also. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm actually in the floor. They're like, no, that's not the right class. That's just some guys who are fucking with you. So I went into that classroom, and once again, I didn't have the right book. So I had to go back out, and I got myself another set of expensive books, and I went back to the classroom there, and I started talking. And now, I badmouthed the class on the third floor, but they had some stuff that was really cool. I mean, the instructor wasn't bad. He was good at teaching, even if the stuff he was teaching was, in my mind, bullshit. He was very convincing. And the same thing was true of this teacher. She was great as an instructor. But once again, the materials that she was teaching, they weren't right. I could go do my own research. I could look into my own life. I could see the things that they were teaching, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but this still isn't it. And on a hunch, I walked across to a different building, to a different floor, and sure enough, there was somebody over there waving me in. I sat in that classroom, and I listened. I didn't bother buying the book this time. I just wandered around. And the floor above that, and the basement below that, everywhere I walked, I found open doors asking me in, and every single one, I found something amazing. I found either great people, or I found interesting bits of knowledge that I would never have stumbled across by myself. And in every single one, I found the fatal flaw of wasn't right. Now, I couldn't tell that to anybody in those classes. Every single person in those classes seemed to be deeply enthralled with the teacher. Like, haven't you heard what she's saying? Haven't you heard the heart he pours into it? Can't you see how logical this is? And in every single case, I'd have to say, I see it, but I don't feel it. And after years of walking around the college, pursuing my dreams, I went to the dean of graduation and I said, I'm taking my graduation. I'm going to graduate. And he's like, you haven't taken this class. I'm like, so where in the rules does it say I have to take this class? It says right here in these rules. So I took a piece of paper and I wrote down my own set of rules and say, if there's one thing I've learned from this college, you obviously don't care about truth universally, so I'm willing to write my truth subjectively, and I say, I'm done with your classes.